Hey guys, everyone, how are you all doing?
I'm gonna turn the video on. Yeah, okay, perfect. I'm gonna do a little bit of an introduction, but Rajiv and I discussed that we'd love for this session to be as collaborative as possible. We are going to record it. We are going to put it out there for other people. But if you guys have questions, this is really the best time to ask them. Drop them in the comments or just speak up and we're here to answer. But my name is Ina. I'm one of 3 co-founders of Onboard Student Services. We're a business that's really aimed at changing the international student experience, being international students and immigrants ourselves. And I'm really excited and privileged to have Rajiv Khanna here, who is the managing attorney at immigration.com, just to chat with us a little bit today about the H-1B. So Rajiv, maybe if you could give us a quick introduction about yourself.
I'm a lawyer. Name is Rajiv, practicing in Washington, D.C. Been doing it for 3 decades, longer than most of you have been born. So I think immigration is our forte, and this is what we do. So hopefully what we will do today is to cover the basics so that some of the confusion is lifted away from what is going on, and to perhaps give you a roadmap on what lies ahead, and hopefully answer a few questions from you as well. Back to you, Aina.
Okay, perfect. So I think for anyone who's just getting their feet wet, maybe their first time on OPT, maybe they're just getting to the H-1B, what really is the H-1B? Can you tell us a little bit about it?
Aina, if I may, H-1B is such a basic question that most people already know about it. I'll just very briefly say this. Logistically, most people who are on OPT or even before that, as long as you have a bachelor's degree in a specific subject, a 4-year bachelor's degree, you are entitled to an H-1B if you get a job that requires that degree. So for example, this is something that comes up quite frequently. My first degree is in biology and chemistry, but my second degree is in law. So if I wanted to get an H-1B in basic medical sciences or biology or chemistry, I could. But I can also get an H-1B in law because I also have a degree in law. So many of you I have many clients who have first degrees in technology and second degrees, MBA, etc. So the idea basically is that the job requires a degree, you've got that degree, and you go through the lottery system. The lottery is conducted every year. It used to be a crazy wildebeest time during the olden days. It's less of a crazy, more wildebeest time in many ways because there was a lot of uncertainty around lotteries. This year has been a surprise because we've got a 3rd wave of lotteries. And I don't want to jump ahead to other topics that you want to discuss, Aina. But H-1Bs are simple to understand, much more difficult to obtain for the many reasons that I mentioned. In addition to that, there are so many other technical issues, which are probably a 2-day seminar if I were to go into them. But we would stick with just the outskirts of how it works, and hopefully just talk about the logistics first, which is on people's mind primarily these days. I'll tell you one of the most frequently asked questions that I've answered at least 20 times since yesterday. I left the old employer. I am with the new employer. And now I won the lottery with the old employer. What do I do? Well, the answer to that question is this. Lottery is non-transferable. You cannot take lottery won through employer X over to employer Y. There are 2 wonderful options. One option is to go back and work for the employer X, the one who won your lottery. Number 2 is to, and I don't know how far that works. Even though you're working for employer B, if your employer or employer Y, your employer X loves you very much, they can still process your H-1B even though you are not currently employed with them. If that H-1B gets approved, as soon as the change of status is approved, you are now on H-1B and you are forever free of the H-1B lottery, at least for the next 6 years, actually more. Once you file a green card, that exemption from the lottery goes on forever. So even in your absence, if the old employers their heart has gone fonder, they can actually process your H-1B in your absence, and you can carry the benefit of that H-1B outside the lottery system to any employer. So that's the question I've been answering the most.
Just to follow up to that question, so let's say someone's working for employer X and they're about to switch over and they just got the lottery. So they make the decision, let me stay with employer X, let me get my lottery, let me think about this later. After they've been working with employer X on the lottery, can they then switch their job an X amount of time later? And what amount of time is acceptable?
Actually, none. So you could actually change employers even before the H-1B is approved. And once you change and that H-1B is approved, you could now process another H-1B. So this situation gets more muddy when H-1B is approved prior to October 1st. So what is the mystery of October 1st, by the way? Does anybody here know what is this October 1st big deal? Raise your hand if you know. Let me see what you guys know. All right, you all failed. F. Here's how it works. The government fiscal year begins on October 1st, right? So October 1st of 2021 is the start of 2022 fiscal year, just to keep things interesting for you. Okay, so fiscal year 2022 begins on October 1st, 2021. Okay, now under the law, you can apply for an H-1B 6 months ahead of the H-1B. That means on April 1st, you can apply for an H-1B that starts on October 1st. See? Now, what if your H-1B gets approved on April 1st or April 15th, or even let's say May or June? It's kicking in on October 1st. What if it is revoked or withdrawn before October 1st? Now you're in trouble. Why? Because before the kickoff of the H-1B was yanked away from you. But what if you never join the employer and October 2nd process an H-1B through another employer? Perfectly fine, as long as your H-1B is not revoked before October 1st. Now, in this lottery, we are already past October 1st. I hope most of you recognize that, right?
I hope so. Yes,
we are all on the same page. same page of reality. Okay, good. Now, since we're already in the next fiscal year, the moment your H-1B is approved, you're good as gold, right? Because now, even if they yank your H-1B away, you're still exempt from the lottery. You're sitting pretty. So this is the difference between the timing of the lottery, the beginning of the fiscal year, and the kickoff of your H-1B. Something to remember.
So we had a lot of, I don't know if it was panic for some people, excitement for other people when this third lottery news came out and everyone was a little confused. Could you maybe tell us, why does this even happen? What does it mean? And for people who maybe didn't get it or did get it, how can they find out?
Well, first of all, excitement and panic are just kissing cousins. Frankly, there's little difference between them. The difference between excitement and panic is knowledge. Once you know what's going on, you're just excited, you're not panicking. The way H-1B lottery is conducted is based upon USCIS's experience of how many people will apply. So let's say the lottery, the total quota is what, 85,000, right? So they'll say, all right, in the first round of lottery, we'll accept 85,000 plus, let's say, 100,000 people. Because in our experience, once the H-1Bs are denied, et cetera, and so forth, if we get 100,000 people in the lottery or selected in the lottery, we can then hope that 85,000 people will apply and will be approved. Okay, so they make a guesstimate. And actually, you want to learn more about the exact numbers, use your favorite search engine. I was going to say Google, but I have stock in Google, but I don't really recommend Google only. So just do a search engine search for H-1B electronic registration, uscis.gov. It'll bring you to the page where they've done the exact math. This is what we did in the fiscal year 2021, based upon which fiscal year 2022, first time around, we selected these many people, but whoa, far fewer people applied than we had expected. So we conducted a second round. Far fewer people applied. Now we have conducted a third round. So the big question in the minds of people is, will there be a fourth round? Somebody had asked me a question 3 weeks ago. I was telling them, nah, there's not going to be a third round. So it tells you what I know. It's very difficult to predict what's going to happen. USCIS keeps you forever young because you are constantly feeling stupid. I think that's part of being young, right? So
Yes.
I feel constantly defied because neither logic nor rationale works with the USCIS. Back to you, Aina.
So we do have some questions coming in, and to be honest, I feel like it's also part of my job to know about all of these things. So I don't want to ask just my questions. I want to make sure the people who are here for your valuable time get to ask theirs. So I do have one question saying, how do we double confirm that our employer has even filed our H-1B lottery? Do applications or applicants get some kind of invitation or notice period to the lottery taking place? Quite curious as an OPT student.
Well, unfortunately, this is a huge loophole or blind spot in the system that the person who's going to get affected the most, you, is the person who knows the least. The only real defense you have is a lawyer who is ethical. I assume lawyers are ethical because most lawyers know that being unethical is not only immoral, it also can get you severe reprimand from the bar. I'll give you an example of how it works in Virginia. We are in Virginia. I'm admitted in Virginia and DC both. In Virginia, our bar says, Rajiv, you represent both the employer and the employee. We don't care who pays your bills. For you, they are both clients with equal dignity. You cannot love more one than the other. We don't care if you have 200 cases from the employer. That one person who came to your door is just as important as the employer who gave you 200 cases. So both parties have complete access to our files. Every paper we send to the employer and the employee says that, listen, we represent both sides. Don't come to me and say, I want you to withhold this document from the client because my client is the individual as well. And you're both the same, both equal to me. And Mr. Individual, don't call me and say, well, I got caught speeding and now I've got reckless driving charges. I cannot keep it from your client. I cannot keep it confidential. So when a lawyer like me is representing you, you have complete access to information. Not only will I tell you exactly where you are, I'll give you a copy of all the paperwork. And if the employer doesn't like it, that's tough. And it's the same goes for you. Don't come to me and say, well, he hasn't paid my salary or they haven't paid my salary. I can't represent one against the other, sorry. So your first line of inquiry is your lawyer. Many bars, in fact, I would be surprised if not most bars, have some kind of a mechanism in place for two-party representation. And what do you do if your lawyer misbehaves? If I misbehave with you, you call the Virginia bar. They are very tough. The moment a client complains, they look into it, they call us to carpet. In 30 years of my practice, I think we had one complaint. And of course, that was nonsense. It got thrown out right away. But the point is, it's just cumbersome. It's a pain in the behind to have to deal with the bar. So most lawyers don't like when their clients complain to the bar, but they can't do anything against you. What can I do for you? Of course, if there is something malicious about it or you lie about something, then you could be in trouble. So the point is, you want to know what happens to your case, first call your lawyers.
Perfect. And the second question we have come in is, how do they decide the different levels or cap? How should I know which one I fall in?
Okay, that question doesn't make sense. Either I am too old or you are too young. One of us is not.
I think it's more so, how does the government decide on the cap numbers every year?
So the cap numbers are set by statute, right? 85,000. You cannot have more than that. The cap numbers are set. But what used to be always suspenseful to me, and it still is to a certain extent. So if you selected 85,000 people in the lottery, but you denied 10,000 cases, what happens to those 10,000 visas? They kind of go into the gutter. So what USCIS does is they guesstimate how many denials there will be, and they allot numbers accordingly. Don't ask me the details, guys. I am just a lawyer making a living. Don't make it any more difficult for me.
Perfect. No, don't worry. We have a lot of questions coming in. So this is gonna be like a little rapid fire, but can my potential employer apply for my H-1B when I have OPT and have not yet started working for them? When is really the right time to apply? Okay, we'll just start with
The answer is yes, apply as early as possible. They can, even without you starting work with them, apply for you ahead of time. Next question.
When is the right time to apply?
As early as possible. Next question.
Do you need an offer letter to apply?
You do not. To get into the electronic registry, you just need 3 pieces of information. I don't know what they are. My team knows something like your first name, last name, da, da, da. It's not difficult. It's not rocket science. You don't need much.
Okay, perfect. Other than
one more thing, it only costs $10 to enter the registry.
To enter the registry. Okay, perfect. Other than receiving an email directly from USCIS, is there any alternative to check for H-1B status change, submitted, picked, rejected?
Status change, submitted, picked, rejected. So you cannot know what the decision is until you see the decision.
Yeah.
Because if your status change has been accepted, you'll get an I-94 that says there's a change of status. If for some reason the change of status has been rejected, or you opted for doing a change outside the United States through a consulate, then your approval notice will not have an I-94.
Okay.
Next.
This is I'm not sure how you want to make it short, but please share the procedure to apply for H-1B, the cost, the procedure, and my employer is a startup, so he's not very aware of it.
Okay, so if you want to know the exact costs, go to immigration.com, and on the very top ribbon on our website, there is a click point that says our fees. Click on that. Under non-immigrant visas, you'll see H-1Bs. It tells you what we charge, what the filing fees are. So the component, what we charge would be different from lawyer to lawyer, but at least you will know what the overall range of expenses is. Okay.
Perfect.
So that's the way we have. All our fees are published online.
Okay, love the transparency. I feel like that's so important. Please share the eligibility of a startup to apply for an H-1B.
It does not matter whether you're a startup. I have done H-1Bs for 0 employee companies.
Okay. How can one change their H-1B from a nonprofit company to a for-profit company?
I'm going to submit a frequently asked question to the Economic Times. I'm actually going to write that out. I just received an email from somebody who had the same question.
Okay.
You can expect to see it on Tuesday online. I'll put it on the LinkedIn also.
Okay. Perfect.
So this is a little bit of a complicated discussion. It's a very interesting loophole in the laws, but I'll explain that all in my write-up.
Okay, well, we will look forward to that. I'll make sure to share it with everyone who joined this group as well. Someone said, I changed jobs in September 2021, and now my previous employer informed me that I was picked in the 3rd lottery. What are my options? Maybe he missed out on that first bit of the conversation today. Yeah. But I mean, there's going to be a recording, so I'll definitely send that your way. If a person is working for employer X and employer Y simultaneously, and both file for the H-1B lottery, is it fine that they both file for that person?
Yes, but here is the caveat. The caveat is this. The 2 companies who file for you, X and Y, they should not be related even remotely. So let's say one is owned by a husband, the other by the wife. Typically under corporate law or immigration laws, it should not be a problem. These are different companies. But for the purposes of registration, government can make an objection to that. And if they make an objection, they'll throw out both lotteries. It should not have any commonality, not the same project, not the same ownership, not the same cousins. So just make sure that they are completely unconnected. You can file as many lotteries as you want. Perfect.
What are the next steps once an application is picked up in the 3rd round?
So then you will have till February 23rd to submit your H-1B. Your lawyers will submit your H-1B. It'll go in, and after the LCA and all that process, I'm not going to get into those logistics. All those steps are online in a million places. You can take a look. But once the H-1B is sent in, they will then either approve, deny, or send an RFE. Large percentage of cases, you get an RFE, request for evidence, which is usually we need more information because we are missing XYZ. As many as 4 to 5 times out of 10, they have not even read the case. They just send out the RF.
Okay. The next question is, can a startup apply for an EB-1 visa for an employee? If so, what is the minimum salary? To be honest, I would prefer if we just keep it to H-1B for this conversation, but I'm sure you can reach out directly if you want to talk about the EB-1.
Well, we have several places you can get basic information from us. I do a conference call every other Thursday. Yes, every other Thursday at, I want to say 12:30 p.m. Eastern time. I've been doing it for 25 years. So we usually have it used to be between 100 and 500 people. Now we deal with about between 10 and 20 people, partly because we don't make a big deal about it. It's easier to deal with about 12 to 14 questions in one session. More than that is difficult. Our session, we have another session online with a gentleman named Blvd, immigration.com. You can place your comments or questions in the right sections. If you place them in the wrong sections, they'll be deleted. I answer those questions at least two, 3 times a week. I'm trying to think what else we do. You can also write me an email directly. I try to respond as much as I can. My email is help@immigration.com. How much easier can I make it? help@immigration.com. Okay.
Really? I think we got a couple more. That's like a slightly lengthy one. Let's say that third year of OPT is the status for a student on STEM, which expires July 22. You're not selected in your H-1B twice. By what time does this applicant need to get work authorization to continue work? How long can they work on STEM OPT?
Okay, so if your STEM OPT is expiring in July, obviously you need some work authorization beyond that if it is curricular practical training. If you want to understand the difference and my take on curricular practical training, OPT and STEM OPT, the fine distinctions, go to my blog on immigration.com. I have written an article because it was coming up so many times. What is the difference? There are 2 or 3 articles that are important. Can I travel while I'm on CPT, OPT, etc.? And my H-1B is going on. Number 2, if I apply for an OPT or if I apply for a CPT, how does that play out? So read up on that information. You need to sharpen your questions. There's a lot of information I can give you in the next 6-7 hours if you've got.
I agree. So is there a minimum salary to apply for an H-1B?
Yes. Write down this website, flcdatacenter.com. So F as in foreign, L as in labor, C as in certification. Foreign labor certificate, FLC, data as in DATA, center, American spelling, CENTER, not TRE. So datacenter.com, very important website. This is the website where all the salaries are computed. So how do you get your salary from there? So you go to flcdatacenter.com. Around the middle, this website looks like absolute garbage, but it's a very good website. The front end is horrible. The back end is fantastic. So it's run by the Department of Labor, Bureau of Labor Statistics. In the middle, there is a salary wizard. You go to the salary wizard. It says, which state is the job in? You select the state. Which county? You select the county. Now you take your job title. So if you are a software developer, you'll just write software developer. You click it and the salary shows up. You look at the wages. If you are an entry-level person, level 1, if you are 1 to 3 years out of school, level 2, level 3, level 4. There are 4 levels to each designation. So you can look at the salaries from there. flcdatacenter.com.
Amazing.
That's where we go.
Someone put it in the chat as well, so I think that's great. If my sibling and I founded a company, can I file for an H-1B?
Yes, but getting a green card through PERM would be very difficult. We do relatives cases for PERM, but if you are looking one step ahead, because that's the way I see it. I'm not only looking at your today, I'm looking at tomorrow. When you call me, I'm not thinking of just what you asked me. I'm thinking of what you really need, because you don't know everything I know. So I let you know where I think you should be going. If you get in with your sibling, then you should be comfortable with the idea that you're not going to be able to get the ordinary green card through this company. So definitely nothing stops you from doing an H-1B with your mom, your dad, your cousin, or your big brother.
Perfect. Someone says, what are the options after your OPT expires? Canada PR, day 1 CPT. Can you ask your employer to file a green card while on OPT?
I actually wrote a comment on this on Economic Times, whether you can apply for a green card while you're still on F1. If you Google, again, not not advocating Google, any search engine, just say Rajiv S. Khanna Economic Times. You'll come to my author page. A good 70% of what you asked me is already up there.
Love it. Okay, I think some of the questions are wrapping up. If you guys have more, I know we ran through them quickly, but keep sending them in. This was a great set of questions so far, but super useful. Rajiv, does your company, I'm assuming a lot of the people who've reached out to me individually are people who are working for small employers in the US who've never filed an H-1B before. So they feel like, the education piece is on them to make the employer feel a little bit comfortable. In that situation, how do they navigate teaching / bringing a lawyer into the situation for their employer?
Always, it's the lawyer's job to complete the education of the employer. It isn't the individual's. You stick with what you do. If you're an economist, you do the economist part. Let me do the lawyer part. This is our job. We make sure the employer understands both the pluses and the minuses. I'm not a salesman. I'm not going to do a sales job for you. I will lay out the law. I will lay out the pluses and the minuses. They can decide for themselves. So remember one thing, I always tell people, I have trouble with lawyers who are easygoing with the truth. A lawyer who lies for you will also lie to you. And I'm also happy to report, I know very few people, extremely few people on this side of the bars who are liars.
Yeah.
For their clients or to their clients. In this country, the standard of ethics is quite amazing.
Okay, we have a couple more. We have 5 more minutes. So on the FLC data center, I don't have my exact position listed. Should I refer to the closest position for accurate wage information?
I actually go to the job description rather than the job title. And remember, you can have an overlay of positions. So for example, let's say you walk into a company, you look at their technology needs, you decide they need this software, you decide what their functional specs are going to be, and maybe you decide what the technical specs are. They need an Oracle database with a Java front end, They need a rule engine that does X, Y, Z. So you do the technology part. What are you? Are you a software developer? Yes. Are you a system architect? Yes. Are you a systems analyst? Yes. There are all these crossovers. Are you a business analyst? Yes. So all of these are correct.
Yeah.
This is where lawyers come in. This is where, because personally, I am very blessed because I understand science. I'm a science geek. I understand technology. I'm a technology geek. My idea of a good time is setting up a Hadoop system to work. Many of you would understand what that means. I love reading about quantum biology because that's something that fascinates me. So with the result, and I have taught myself things like economics and political science over a period of time. So what happens is, if you understand the substrate of what you are presenting to the government, it is that much easier. So when you bring me a job description, I can maybe perhaps even a little bit boisterously know exactly where you stand, because that's what I do for a living. It's so much fun. It's like solving a puzzle. Yeah. So don't stress too much about it. Your lawyers will help you. Next question.
Does getting an H-4, H-1B dependent allow for working immediately after it's been approved?
After it's been approved. Next.
Okay. Can I ask a question by unmuting myself? Sure, if you can do it quickly.
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Of course. Let's.
Hello, hi. Thank you so much. Rajiv sir, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate that. This is really insightful. One of the questions that I'll ask right off the bat is, suppose if we get like multiple offers in the month of February, and I ask each and every different companies to just file for my H-1B, and they file, and then suppose from one of these companies the lottery gets picked. So that's how I choose my next employer. Is that a good way or an ethical way to do things?
Just remember one thing, that of course, until the law or the policy changes, the companies that are applying for you must not be connected with each other. Other than that, perfectly okay. Actually, you can proceed to completion with more than one employer also. So not only can you do lottery through more than one employer, you can also do an H-1B to completion through more than one employer. Other people who want an H-1B will hate you, but you can do it. It's legal.
Okay, it's legal, right? So yeah, truly separate companies X, Y, Z, not even related, like not even subsidiaries, not even sponsored, and so on and so forth. Truly
Yes.
independent companies.
Yes.
We can do that, right? Okay, cool,
Yes.
cool.
All right.
And thank you so much. Yeah.
Thank you. If someone has been on an L1 visa in the USA and they have it for 5 years, during that time, if someone wants to continue a job, can they file for an H-1B?
Well, depends upon whether you were L1A, L1 or L2.
Okay, I'm going to
Because if
leave the
you-
L1 questions just because
Yeah.
we really want to focus on my H-1B people today. If STEM expires in March 2023, can my employer still apply for my H-1B in March 2023 after your STEM is expired?
They can, but you won't be able to stay in the United States, right?
Yeah.
So you can go outside the United States and wait it out or try something. Personally, I think it's a little bit on the outside of my comfort zone, something like a CPT, etc. I don't think these are the best things for you, but you can. I think I'm losing my bet, you guys.
Great. What? Let me know if I should. I'll just pause for a second.
Yeah. If I get disconnected, let me. That's.
That was a
I
great
don't know why.
question.
Yeah.
No
So keep
worries.
going as much as we can.
What if my employer partnered with law firm X to file an H-1B and then employer partnered with law firm Y in September? Who do I ask for the third lottery results, X or Y?
Whoever was helping you file the H1 that was selected.
Okay. Is the third lottery only for the fiscal year 2021 candidates, those who weren't selected in the first and second?
Yes. Next
What are-
question.
Okay, what are the options if my H-1B is denied and I have exhausted all the chances?
My H1 is business. Well, then you are in the same position as, well, there's no limit to how many chances. There's a limit to how long you can stay. You can be outside USA, they can keep trying for you. You can try 100 times, 1,000 times, 5,000 times. So there's no limit to your number of tries. There's a limit to how long you can stay.
Got it. So someone said, what is the roadmap further if my H-1B didn't get picked even on the third round? I think we mentioned it earlier, essentially the unrecommended but existing CPT. There's Canada, or you can apply for H-1Bs when you leave the country and you're in a home country or another country where you have residence. Someone just said, thank you, sir. The session has been very helpful. Thanks, Ina, for arranging this. Looking forward to learn more. Okay, cool.
I have a question, very
Sure.
small. I just wanted to know that we cannot apply for H-1B right now because we didn't apply, my company did not apply for it in the first fiscal year. So the next, starting from February or March, April-ish time zone, that's when I can apply for the first time.
Yes.
Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, thank you.
I have a question. I just graduated and I'm on my first year OPT and I do qualify for the STEM OPT. I have an employer who's willing to file an H-1B. When's the right time to do the filing?
Okay, so what you do is around December, which is next month, you start talking to them about what needs to be done. The first step is easy. $10 out of their pocket and a couple of lines of basic information. Don't really need a lawyer for it. Better to have a lawyer though. You enter the lottery. If you get selected, then they need to be educated. This is what is involved. So the first step is easy. Tell them to enter you in the lottery.
Perfect. So someone said any legal websites and resources. Obviously, I'm going to recommend immigration.com. And if you search for Rajiv Khanna Economic Times, it looks like I have some research to do as well into all the things you've written. That being said, I think we're out of time for today, and I do really value you being here. Hopefully, if you do these sessions weekly or bi-weekly, I'd love to be more involved, and so would Onboard, because I think this has been really helpful, and it's like good to get this information out there. We will be saving the session and reposting it because I know it was very quick. So if you guys need to watch it again and pause on some of those questions, we'll give you the opportunity to do so. Does Mr. Rajiv Khanna do one-on-one consulting calls?
I do, but I hate to charge people for something I can give away free.
So I guess you just have to come back to Onboard sessions with Mr. Rajiv Khanna.
Any of the sessions, you'll find me all over the darn place. Come anywhere where I'm speaking. Of course, Aina ji has been very kind, very good host. You can come here, and if time permits, I'll be happy to answer all your questions. Why do you want to pay me when I'm willing to do it free?
Thank you, sir. Thank you,
Thank
Aina.
you guys so much. I hope you have a wonderful day. If you have any questions, please email them help@immigration.com, like he said, or mine is ina@onboardss.com. A lot of you have me on LinkedIn, but you can follow our company page for updates, or on Instagram. We try to keep things as updated as possible. All right. Thank you, everyone.
See you.